may not get it, cause people's experience different. Check the prejudice at the door. You give the flow, tell the truth if it's sweet or sour, cause the hour we spittin' that fire.
Hey everyone, this is Spitting Fire. I'm your girl coming to you with another one. And don't forget, there's a disclaimer below. Okay, somebody had to remind me. But also, I always put a verbal disclaimer in my videos. Okay, make sure you are over the age of 18 before you listen to my videos. Make sure you don't allow people under the age of 18 to listen to the videos. When YouTube changes policy for adults or for children, I pay for adults. So make sure you understand that. Okay, we're going to be talking about one of the co-founders again, Oronike. Okay, her name is Oronike, and I used to say Oronike, but it's Oronike. And I don't know if you guys remember, but last year I was doing commentary on Rkelly, and when I was talking about injustice and stuff like that, and there was a video that I said she was in, and I couldn't find it on YouTube. I couldn't find it at all. So just to let you know, I found it, guys. It took me like a year. I actually found the video, okay? And so this was a video that I had ran across last year, and I was listening to her talk and the things that she said she did to try to bring down Rkelly, and I was thinking like, wow, that's a damn shame. You know what I mean? And I'm not a fan of Rkelly. Let me put that out here. Spitting Fire is not an Rkelly fan, blog, or anything else. I just know injustice when I see it, who's a victim of it, and everything else. And it's so sad that some of us, our own people, bring us down with these injustices, and they take advantage of it because they know the one thing that the law isn't for is, a black man. And not every black man that is accused of rape is innocent. Okay, some of them are guilty. Spitting Fire know this, but these are the ones who I personally believe, and the evidence shows these are the people that I believe and know and found, and the evidence support that they're innocent. And so this is why I advocate for them, because I know that when it comes to the law that is unjust, black men don't stand a chance. And so that's where the confusion of belief versus evidence and everything else. But I've also said that they have a slogan saying Black Girls Matter and things like that. Well, Black Girls Matter is the same as Black Lives Matter. Okay. And I also told you in my videos, the ones that I just dropped recently, do not let them separate the gender. Okay. We all want culture. Black Lives Matter. Don't go and be promoting that black gender and black girls and all this and that. Black lives including all of that. Okay. So we're going to be talking about this. But first, I will not speak this channel out because I am not like my co-bloggers. They get mad at somebody and they call out the channel. I'm smarter than that. I'm not doing that because I know how you subscribers are. I know that the loyalty on this subject is very thin. And I know that if I call out the subscriber, some of you go over there and then you start gravitating to them. And then next thing you know, you're rocking with them like you did all the other bloggers around here. So I won't give you that opportunity to do that off Spitting Fire. So this person was on the show. And if you know that, if you know what this show is, you know. But if you don't, oh well. So I will not say the name of the show. However, Oronike was on this show, and I was looking for this video for over a year when she was talking about how she brought down Rkelly. And then I'm going to dissect some things and put my input in it. And make sure you guys comment below. Make sure you share, subscribe to this channel. Push the like button, okay? Get my likes up, you guys, okay? Because even though I'm not live, I still need the likes as well. All right, let's get it popping. Here we go.
I've been doing these lives now for about a year. Okay. And I remember about a year ago, I was saying to my people, because I had seen the hashtag Mute Rkelly, but I didn't know that it was you behind it. And so I had seen it, and so I was encouraging all of my followers to stop supporting his music, to stop playing it, that kind of thing. So many of them that have been following me for a while, they can definitely tell you that. So when did it actually start?
It started in June 2017. So okay. Right when the accusations of what the media was calling the sex cults came out, I saw it that day on the news. I was actually sitting in my office on the computer. The TV was on. I heard that. I was like, what's Rkelly doing? Like, I hadn't heard anything about Rkelly in a long time.
Right.
You know what I mean? I probably stopped thinking about R. Kelly or hearing about him, after the quote unquote P tape, where he was sexually degrading a 14-year-old.
Right.
I hadn't thought about it really since then. So I
allegedly sexually degrading a 14-year-old. And no one knows in that video was the girl even 14, because in 2008, that person who they thought that was in the video or the quote unquote P tape took the stand and said it wasn't her. Okay, so let me get that clear. And let's take a look at something else. Let's keep listening.
On Google and just kind of, started looking and realized that although I hadn't been hearing about it, almost every year, every other year, more people were coming out. More people were filing charges. More people were talking about the abuse and the sexual abuse of the underage girls. And so these families were coming out kind of like screaming into the void, and nobody was paying attention.
Okay, so she said that the sex calls and the families were coming out and nobody was paying attention. First of all, it was only 2 families that was coming out, and they knew where their daughters were. Okay, if R. Kelly had a cult of women that he was held hostage, first of all, they wouldn't have to come forward. She wouldn't have to come out. The prosecutor wouldn't have to come out after the docuseries and say, anybody that knows anything about this, or we encourage people to come forward. You wouldn't have to sit up there and do that. Okay? And then there will be well more than 6 or 7. Bill Cosby had alleged 40 accusers and Weinstein, and he only had 6, and he's the better looking man. I like out of them too. Like, come on. So we know that the sex cult is a lie, because when R. Kelly was arrested, there was no sex cult. When the police came to his place of residence, or when he did his studio, there was no evidence of a sex cult. There was no girls. There was none of that. So these were lies that the documentary had said, and these were the lies that she continued to perpetuate on this channel right here. And it is so funny that when they do things like this or whatever, no one actually called them out. Like, where is this cult? Where is all these girls at? Because so far there were 2, and it was his girlfriend until one turned victim for profit. But let's continue to listen to her lies.
Nobody was supporting them. And I became incensed. I was just enraged. I was also really upset that he was here in Atlanta, because we have a huge child sex trafficking problem. So it was like, it was a lot of forces converging on me at once. Like, wow, why are we not supporting these families? And how dare you bring that to Atlanta? I didn't know what to do. I'm not an activist, I was just pissed. So I decided to start a petition to try to get him off of Atlanta radio. Very, very humble.
So it started as an online petition?
As an online petition,
okay.
Yeah, to get him off of the radio.
And how many signatures did you need for that to actually happen? Or you were just trying to get a signature?
I was just trying to get a signature. I just put it on my Facebook to my friends. Sent out an email to folks like, hey, y'all saw this, everybody signed. They started, sending it out to people. It morphed as the co-founder, Tisha Barnes, came and said she really wanted to work with me. And we created, kind of this organization, and decided we were going to go past the radio play, but also try to get his concerts canceled, his streaming canceled, all of his, sources of income. We were going to try to cut him off at the knees. In that way, since we couldn't, for some reason, the judicial system has not been able to convict him, we were like, well, let's cut the resources off.
And a part of the lack of conviction.
Okay, so you hear what she said. She said they went after R. Kelly money. They had to cut the resources off. So when I did a video last year, I had explained to you about the amendments. Okay? I had explained to you about the amendments, rights and things like that. But hold on, let me find it. Hold on. Okay, so let's see how the government hid behind these constitutional rights that we have in these amendments. Let's see how they did a little, but then they switched it and they twisted and they turned it. And even though Oronike said she's not a government official or whatever, but when the government assisted her and believed her and helped with her and co-conspired with her into taking down R. Kelly, that means that she was working as a government agent, okay? And so, therefore, when they do things like that, this is what I believe that his attorneys actually need to try to fight. Because one of the things that they did when they was in these indictments was that they released a couple of the people. They had an indictment, right? Okay, so you've seen a lot of channels read the indictments over and over again. We've seen that for the past 8 months. And we seen the ops break down the indictment on what it means. We seen over here they broke down the indictment on what it means. But here is what I'm going to do at Spitting Fire. I'm going to tell you the tricks to the trade into which the government did to violate his constitutional right underhandedly. And what they did was when they had these indictments, they go against these indictments, right? So they go against the grand jury. The grand jury is made up of I forgot 20 something people or whatever, and then they presented the case, and it's a one-sided case now, and they presented the case to see if they have enough charges to hold somebody or to make about arrest. And most of the time when it's a prosecutor presenting one side and they're telling you something, it's a very small percentage that the people would not go with the prosecutor. Okay. And so when the prosecutor presented the case, they said, okay, we have enough to indict. So they indict him on these charges, on each charge that he has, right? So they have these indictments, right? So then when they have these indictments and they bring the indictments down on them, this is how they say, okay, we're not violating his rights because we had an indictment, okay? And I'm like, okay, but here's where the twist of the indictment, this is where they manipulated the indictment. What they did was, within the last few months, they dropped a couple of people to add some more people who they think were stronger. But wait a minute. You went to the grand jury and presented these people and said, okay, and they said yes. Then you went to the grand jury and said, okay, we got some more people, and they said yes. But then you dropped the two. That's questionable. That's questionable when you went, because it should, see, the thing of it is, if someone is guilty of these charges and you went to a grand jury to present your case and the grand jury said, okay, yeah, we believe you have enough, then why would you need to drop anything? Why would you need to drop anything? You wouldn't have to drop these two charges. When you go and sit in front of a grand, because when you drop these two charges, that's saying that those are the two charges that he may or may not have been guilty of. Or even you can't even prove it. So therefore, that's questionable. But what you do is you go get another indictment, because you have him in prison, and so you can drop those two and add those two. And see, that's where the manipulation coming in at. That's where the injustice is coming in at. Because now there's questionable. Because if somebody is underhanded, undeniably wrong, and you know, and you got all this proof, first of all, I got enough indictments. I don't have to keep indicting. Second of all, I don't have to drop no one. Everyone that I got an indictment on, I don't have to drop. When you have to drop somebody who you went and got an indictment for, that speaks volume. Because you already had the grand jury participation in believing that you had enough evidence. But then come to find out you don't. And yet you still have this man in prison. Only to get somebody else whose story that you feel is more credible than the next one. Well, we got a problem with that. Because that's not how the law is supposed to work. You're supposed to have these evidence. You're supposed to have them. And so when you go back to the grand jury, you don't tell the grand jury, well, we indicted him on these charges, but these charges didn't hold. So we're going to drop these charges. We want to add these charges we think is better. You don't say that to the grand jury. What you do is you go to the grand jury on something else, and then you just drop them off. That's a problem. That there is a problem. But let's keep on listening to what she has to say. Oh, no. Before we do that, hold on. Okay, so let's break down this Fifth Amendment. Okay, it says no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime. Okay, unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury. So this is why they keep going to the grand jury and getting these indictments. And this is why they on the other side keep reading the indictments over and 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 over again. Except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia, when in actual service in time of war or public danger. No shall any person be subjected to the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb. nor shall be compelled in any criminal cases to be a witness against himself. So this is when they say I plead the fifth. Okay, that's the part where they say I plead the fifth. The other part it says double jeopardy. Okay, so we may have some double jeopardy here because the constitutional rights of federal constitution. Okay, it doesn't say the separation between the states and the feds. Okay, oh, this is a federal level, or they can get them on the fed level. I heard a lot of that. You understand what I'm saying? This, see, when they say that he crossed state lines, is where they're trying to get him on the fed level. But the thing of it is, you cannot be tried for the same crime twice. So this is why they started charging him with his RICO, things like that. So he was sexual assault back then, but it's the RICO on the federal because they still can't say the same charges then because that there will be, okay, double jeopardy. So I hear people say, well, they just charge you on the fed level. That's incorrect. Okay? The amendments is a federal constitution. It's not state and it's not federal. This is the Constitution. This is the federal amendment. This is the Fifth Amendment rights. Okay? This is your rights. Okay? That means for federal and state. Okay? Whew. Let me take a sip. I hear a lot of people say that. I got into it with a lot of people because they thought they knew. I ain't said shit. All right. So then, okay, so it says, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property. So therefore, you need to be able to make a living. Okay. You should be able to make a living and you should be able to buy things for your, like a house and everything without due process of the law. Nor shall private property be taken for public use without. Okay. So private property should not be taken for public use. Okay, so here's the thing. There might be he might have a problem. He might have the government might have a problem because they better be able to prove that that person is underage in those videos, and it better not be the same videos as the person who had in the state video. It better not be the same person, and they say, oh, it was on a different day. They better be able to prove that. Okay, and nowadays with all this technology, you can change stuff, but you also can be able to see when stuff has changed. You understand what I'm saying? So, hey, this Fifth Amendment is a bad sucker here because it gives the federal government rights to do what they're doing, but it also gives Rkelly some rights as well. And so, any of Rkelly's rights being violated, everything got to go. I've always told you on Spitting Fire that if the law is not just, then they can't hold you just. And a lot of people probably don't know what I mean by that. What I'm saying is they cannot break the law to arrest you. They cannot break the law to arrest you. They cannot break the law to try to frame you or anything else. The law cannot break the law to get you, period. And if they do that, that means they're not just. And if they're not just, they can't hold you just for the crimes that they allege you commit. You get what I'm going with this? I hope you guys get what I'm going with this because I see a lot of y'all breaking down these indictments, but I'm going to break down this constitutional thing for you. See, this is Spitting Fire do. I don't have to read what the federal government do because I know the federal government has never been for us. Because if they was, they would be arresting these white men who's killing all these unarmed black men out here. But they haven't, have they? They have not charged one or a police officer, have they? They haven't said no. State, we're going to take over because when he choked him, that's a hate crime and it's our jurisdiction. They did not do that, did they? So this is what I've been trying to explain to that one over there on the other side. But he never wanted to teach it. That's why he got all else. Anyway, let's listen to what else she did to violate his rights. Because like I mentioned a few minutes ago, when she did what she did and the federal law sided with her and co-conspired with her to take him down and to arrest him, she was acting as an agent for the government to do to secure what she calls the public. You understand what I'm saying? That is a charge. Understand me now. Spitting Fire knows what she's talking about. I went to college too. I'm telling you, I took some business law classes and some law classes. If she's acting as an agent, she doesn't have to be a person that wear uniform or a badge. Okay, what she did was, if she's acting as an agent for the United States, what she's saying, she's trying to take him off the streets to secure the public, because she believes that he is a man of harm. Okay, so when she did that and the federal government assisted her, they saying that she was acting as an agent. That is a good argument. Okay, and if she's acting as an agent, she violated his Fifth Amendment when she went out to cut his income before he was arrested. But let's keep on looking, because you want to sit up there and say Black Lives Matter. You think Spittinfire don't know what she's talking about. Let me show ya, because I don't have to read a piece of paper that the United States federal prosecutor had indicted. I don't have to keep doing that for 8 months. What I'm going to do is teach y'all this Constitution that was written long ago. You understand what I'm saying? I hope y'all understand what I'm saying. Let's break this shit on down. All right.
Fiction is because in many of the cases the parents haven't participated. Is that?
Well, that is the most famous case.
Okay.
So that is the case that of the 14-year-old that he was sexually degraded on tape. Correct.
Allegedly.
So her and her parents did not participate, although many of her other family members did.
Like
and
Sparkle.
and verified that it was her and she was 14. But because she was not there and the parents were not there, they decided they could not say that it was her.
So why, and you may not know the answer to this, but why in that case wouldn't the state just go ahead and prosecute? Because say, for example, like we were in a relationship and I battered you,
Right.
and even if you said I don't want to press charges, a lot of times the state will still press charges.
Yes.
So why didn't that happen, or do you even know that?
I'm not really sure of that, but I do know in that particular case, he drugged that out for, I believe, 6 years.
He did delay it. Yeah.
You know, so by the time it actually came to court, she was no longer a minor, and that might not have been a thing where they can do it on her behalf.
Right. Which is another reason why it's important to not support his music. A lot of people say, well, what is it going to do if we don't support his music? Well, if he doesn't have income to delay trials and pay court costs and things like that, that's part of the reason.
Okay, so here's the thing. Okay, for one, you should be able to support what you want to support. Okay, he have a right to make a living. That's going against his constitutional right again, his Fifth Amendment right again. He has a right to life and liberty. He has a right to property. He has a right to these things. And if that girl in the video is not 14, and if that girl in the video is actually 18 years old, that tape is his property, which the federal government and this organization had violated. So they better be able to prove without a doubt who it is. Without a doubt. Not a shadow, not a resemblance, without a doubt. Because there's going to be a whole lot of issues and a whole lot of problems. Okay? And you should be able to do that. You should be able to support his music and everything else. Nobody should tell you you shouldn't support his music. He has not been found guilty of anything. These are what she's alleging happened. She wasn't there for the first trial. She wasn't there at the reading of the verdict or anything else. He is, from what I can take on his channel, he's part of an alternative life, you can tell. And these are the people that I told you that was siding with these women liberation movement and the mute Rkelly. When I told you he was taken down by them, Oprah, and the LGBT. I kept telling you guys that. This is not a coincidence that her and him are friends and he so happens to be a gay man. You know what I mean? That doesn't make any sense to me. But let's keep it moving.
Is really the whole reason that we decided to go after the money. It's because it's the money that's insulating him from the consequences of all of this. If he were Tyrone at the post office and all this had come out, he'd have been in jail already.
And it's the reason that his staff support him, because he, as my mom would say, he's greasing their balls.
Exactly, absolutely.
So you were sitting at home, you were enraged by this whole thing, and so what kind of kickback or pushback did you get from radio when you started with the?
Well, at first I got complete silence.
Okay, so first thing I want to say is she said that the money is the one that keep him. If he was Tyrone, he would have been arrested already. Well, I have a problem with that, okay? And see, everything that she's saying, I can actually debunk with right and valid arguments. One of the things is, the first thing they have said is they helping little black girls in the neighborhood. You have heard all of them say that. And even on their website, they say Black Girls Matter. That's a problem with me because we have a Black Lives Matter, and that's including black girls as well. So to separate the genders is questionable. But what is questionable is the fact that these young ladies are profiting. They signed NDAs. Their parents knew where they were. They said it on the Lifetime documentary. And see, the problem with the documentary is that people highlighting the parts that they want to highlight to try to prove him being guilty. But they're not highlighting what the accusers are actually saying. Because if you are an accuser and you're accusing somebody of a crime and they're fighting for their freedom and their life, you need to be able to be consistent into what it is you're saying. And it needs to be the same every time you say it. Okay? Not a word off. And one of the things that's problematic in this situation is the fact that every time you speak on these young ladies, they have a different story. And she said, well, if it was Tyrone, he would have been arrested a long time ago. Yes, and Tyrone's accusers would not be able to get any money. Tyrone's accusers would not be able to settle for no money, would not be able to sue for no money. So that's problematic and that's questionable because we know the love of money is the root to all evil. I didn't say money was the root to all evil. I said the love of it is the root to all evil. So let's continue to listen to what else she has to say on this interview.
So nobody would return my phone calls, return my emails.
And were you contacting like the program manager?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, contacting the program managers, contacting the DJs, contacting anybody at a radio station I could get the owners, Radio 1. I mean, going as far up as I could get, no response whatsoever. As the news of it got out and I started to get on the news talking about it, then I started to get a response. And the response was, yes, we know what he's been up to. Yes, we believe that he does it and it's wrong. Yes, we know that when we play him, that money goes into his pockets. And we don't care. I mean, that was basically...
Now, I doubt it if the media told her, yes, we know he's been doing this and it's wrong. Okay, so is that what you told them? Is why they sitting up here saying this one-sided story? Because how would they know what he's doing if they're not there witnessing it? How can you say someone has actually done something and is guilty of doing something when it has to be presented as evidence? As you have to know, not of what you think or what you heard or the rumors. Because we know rumors, when there's celebrities, there's plenty of rumors. This is why blogging exists. This is why celebrity gossip exists. This is why these things exist. This is why TMZ exists. Because we are fascinated with gossip and with rumors and whose business and what's going on in their business. It doesn't necessarily mean it's true. It just means it's juicy. And so people want to sit up there and take their problems off of their problems and get into somebody else's business or whatever. So when she goes around and say, well, they said this and they said that and they didn't care, that's not true. The public, when it comes to the media, is not the law. And that's the problem that we have why they saying believe women and men are liars, because that's bias. Okay? And so she's saying they're not caring. So when they said that they don't care, this is probably why the media is doing this victim shaming clause that they have, and they're going to believe the women because of people like them made them think that they didn't care. But you have to have proof and evidence, and when you don't, it's a problem, especially when you are an African-American man. And we know that these women, even black women, has piggybacked off white women to accuse their own men of rape because they know that the law would still believe them to put their own down. And that's problematic with me too, because if black lives supposed to matter, you're supposed to be able to have the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. But let's keep it moving.
Essentially, yeah.
In a nutshell, and I mean, not on some like flipping like 10-minute conversations. I would be in conversations for 30 and 40 minutes, like going through all of my logical steps, because for me, this is not an emotional thing. It's like logical. You know what I mean? Like we, as a black community, are failing these women and failing each other. And you guys on the radio, I remember Saul Williams, the artist, said years ago, radio programming is mind programming. Y'all normalize him and his behavior by playing him. And we could go through all the steps.
Okay, so first of all, we're not normalizing him and his behavior. His talent has nothing to do with his personal life with his women. I mean, that's a given. If he was white, he wouldn't have this issue. They don't take a lot of men who are white, who had relationships with they claim as underage girls, movies off the TV. They don't do that. And so when we do that, we are harder on ourselves and our culture than any other culture and any other race. And that's problematic. And another thing is the fact that his talent has nothing to do with what you accusing him of. Okay, that's the first thing first. It has nothing to do with it. And people say, oh, that's feeding him. That's doing this and that. He has a right to life and liberty. This is injustice. It's injustice by being token. We taking down our own. Many of the slaves back in the day were enslaved because the slaves have given their relatives or people in their village or field to this white man, thinking that they were superior because they were brainwashed. And here is the same thing. We're taking our own down, but we're claiming when the white man kill us, it's a problem. But when we do it, it's not a problem. It is a problem. It's a problem when you are not proving that this is things has happened. Let's continue to listen more.
Yes, 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 yes. So will you stop playing him? No. So we were like, you know what? We're just going to keep, we have to turn the tide of public opinion for radio to fall in line.
So to that point that you just made, when you said about we're normalizing it through radio.
So you hear what I'm saying? She said we had to turn public opinion. So she already, so to all those out there who think that he is guilty, but all those out here who support this movement, she just told you they had to turn they had to turn public opinion. In other words, because if someone is guilty, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. Period. She just told you. So now it's up to you. But see, I know what a lot of you are going to do. A lot of you, what you're going to do is you're going to support your decision. You're not going to be optimistic. You're going to act like you didn't hear her. And you're going to be optimistic because you don't want to be wrong. You don't want to be like, oh my God, like I did this, like I was supporting this. You don't want to be. Yeah, well, Tarana Burke, you guys as allies with this new Rkelly, she did the same thing. She put her own black men away, but when it came to Biden, she said he can be accountable and electable. What? How is that possible? How is a man who is charged with sexual assault be in the White House and you want to hold him accountable? How can he be accountable if he's the president of the United States? We can't even hold the one that we have in here accountable for the actions in which he does. So why would you want a man that you bagging the president of the United States who is a sexual predator and you're supposed to be helping these women? But you guys are not paying attention. You ain't paying attention to Spitting Fire for over a year. I have been telling you this for over a year. I've told you all this stuff before it even came out. But let's keep on listening.
And the black community is supporting this and supporting his mistreatment of black girls and black women. What do you say to all the people that say, well, they're white men that do it, and what about this guy? And we're not. Rkelly isn't the first guy. Right. What do you say to that?
I say everybody you can name that you say has done this and is getting away with it. If it outrages you, you should start a campaign to stop them too.
Absolutely.
So this idea that black men should get away with raping black women because white men get away with raping white women is ridiculous. I often wonder, do we want to change the structures of oppression and racism, or do we just want better positioning within?
Absolutely.
Do black men want to be
able to get away with it? Black men want to be able to get away with shit that white men have gotten away with. Because we saw this with Bill Cosby.
Right.
Well, what about Harvey Weinstein? Right. What about this one? What about that one? But it's like, this is the conversation that we're talking about here. Right. And the point is that we should not err on the. Okay,
now I can honestly say that I agree with what they're saying right there. But the problem with that is, it's not the fact that they're getting away with it. It's the fact that they have to be proven that they've done it. We know the life of a rock star. We know the life of a celebrity. Is it that women claiming these charges because they didn't get what they want? Is it that women claiming these charges because they all wanted a career and they didn't get it? And even if he promised them that he would help them and he didn't, once he slept with them, he kicked them out the door and didn't want to be bothered with them. Is it that? Because what are we actually telling women? That they don't have to be accountable for the actions into which they do? They don't have to be accountable for the choices that they made? You know, you don't have to sleep with a man because he's a celebrity. You don't have to sleep with a man because he's rich and powerful. But you damn sure when you do it, you can't call rape because you didn't get your way. See, these are the things that we have to understand, because we know that there are predators out here. We know that there are rapists out here. We know that there are rich men who are predators out here. But when? Why take so long, to come forward? Why is it taking this long to come forward? I mean, these allegations and accusations have been around for a long time. Why does it take a long time to come forward again? It has to be, like she said, they had to turn the perception. So now that they turn the perception, because now we living in a society where it's sensitive, don't nobody want to be held accountable for nothing, because that's the way young people think. They don't like accountability. They don't like structure. That's why they didn't like punishments. But these are the things that we, as me, an old-fashionist, a traditional person, I believe in taking accountability. I don't believe in victim shaming, but I do also believe that you need to take accountability for your own safety and your own life and your own choices. And just because you didn't get your way out of the deal into which you decided to do something does not constitute you destroying someone's life because you didn't get your way of the choices that you made. So let's
the
take
side
a look.
of morality, simply because there have been some white people that have been able to get away with it.
Exactly. And it's usually just a deflection in that they don't want to deal with the conversation at hand, right? They don't want to give up R. Kelly. And I try as much as I can to be non-judgmental about that, because I understand how attached we are to our favorite songs and our favorite singers. When
because it takes us back to
exactly. And when we hear "Step in the Name of Love," we're not thinking about R. Kelly and sex tones. We're thinking about ourselves and that time in our life, or us at the barbecue, or us at the wedding. We're thinking about ourselves. And we don't want to give up those memories. So I understand that kind of emotional connection. But
Absolutely, we do have an emotional connection to music.
To do the math and realize how much money you have been putting into his pockets, into the abuse of black women, you realize that we're all...
But see, here she says again, the abuse of black women. First of all, what abuse? What abuse of black women? Because R. Kelly didn't only date black women. He dated some white women as well. And none of them is even coming forward. They said that he was an actual gentleman with them. And one of the reasons why they never made it was because he couldn't be... exclusive. You know what I mean? He had a life where it regarded a lot of women. And so when you say that someone is guilty, this is the problem that we have. So when you say Black Lives Matter, you got to give somebody due process of the law. You got to give them that the presumption of innocence. But when you say he did this and he did that and he did this because you believe the women, that doesn't make it true. Oronike, that does not make it true at all. And so that's the problem, because that's why you want to separate the gender from Black Lives Matter. But we are Black lives. We're all of it. Gender separation is not good for the black culture. You need to have cultural obligation. That's the key. And this here is not cultural obligation. If this is not helping young black girls in the neighborhood, this is not even about the women. Okay? Or he's abusing them. Nobody has made no police report of abuse. He has not put nobody in the hospital, broken nose, black eyes, nothing. Nothing. These are all just allegations of how he treated me. Well, he treated me bad. And then they said, well, he held the girls hostage. And to find out the girls wasn't held hostage. That narrative seeped away. But we need to bring that back, because this is what you guys were saying. So this is part 1 of this video. We're going to listen to it next time. Next week, I'm going to make it... I'm going to make it into a little segment. Okay? And we are going to break all of that down, because this is one of the things that we got a problem with. We got to take back the Black Lives Matter, and we have to include everything. One of the things that I want you guys to do, because a lot of you email me and ask, what can you do? Stop saying black girls matter. Stop saying black women matter. That all includes black lives. Let's not allow them to separate us. She got a 501c, I think that's how you call it, organization. She's getting a tax write-off to separate the thing. She's getting money. her and Kenyette. But we are the people who out here losing our lives and helping, and these token blacks who selling themselves out to help others. You got tokens all over the place. You got tokens that's bringing down their own. We know that Oprah and Gail were tokens. Diamond and Silk is tokens. Oronike and Kenyette are tokens. We are not going to let the tokens get away with it either. The token blacks is no different than the whites that's in uniforms killing your men. It's still injustice, all the same. Injustice is injustice, all the same. This is your girl Spitting Fire. Peace!